Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome to the family, and please make sure that you subscribe to the channel. And if you're returning, thank you very much for coming back, and I hope you like this video. So today's video is everything books. So as promised earlier, I did promise that I'll be giving you reviews of each of the books I've read since the beginning of the year, and then of course rating them out of 10. So let's get into the video. The first book I read for the year was recommended by a friend of mine, Pam. Shout out to you, Pam, if you're watching. It's called Eat That Frog. It's an amazing read by Brian Tracy. So basically in this book, Brian gives us 21 ways of how to stop procrastinating. So he says you need to eat the biggest frog first, which is basically saying you need to do your most important task first. One of the key things that I took from the book was the power of doing a to-do list, which I've been doing faithfully since the beginning of the year. I actually started reading this book on the 2nd of January and finished it on the 4th of January. So it was a great read to start the year with, and it gave me so much tools to be able to navigate my work and tasks throughout the year. So if you're one person who's been struggling with procrastination, this book is really for you. So basically the concept of eating the frog is basically tackling the most important task first. You know that task that you're supposed to do, but when you think of it, you start cleaning the house instead, start doing your laundry instead, start replying to emails instead. You keep procrastinating on that big task, but you know exactly that if you don't do it, it will bring the most vital results. So that's the most important task, which Brian calls it the ugliest frog. So start with that. So in this book, Brian helps you to find ways of doing just that, and sort of chuckling all your tasks into small bits and pieces for you to be able to do that. So out of 10, I'll give this book an 8 because I did find that some of the points were repetitive. So I felt like, okay, you've said this before, can we just keep moving now? So maybe that's why I'm gonna give it the 8 instead of a 10 out of 10. Now the next book on my reading list, the next book I read for the year was this one, How to Lead When You're Not in Charge. Again, this book was recommended by Pam. Shout out to you, Pam, once again. And it's amazing. Like, can I just start with the rating? I'm gonna give this book a 10 out of 10, and I will tell you why. First and foremost, it's about the author. His name is Clay Scroggins, if I'm not mistaken. He's a pastor, so he does time and again quote or use some Christian values and a point of view. But if that's not your kind of thing, don't worry. He doesn't just put it there on your face, but he does cite them here and there. I love his style of writing. He's funny, he's easy, he's not a typical pastor, so that's why I am rating this book 10 out of 10. The second thing is that it just came about in a point of my life when there was so much going on, especially in my workplace. So many changes were happening, and I think this is the book that I needed to understand, to navigate all those things that were happening. And in my head I was like, I wish everybody could just get this book and read this book. So basically what this book is about is all about saying you don't need to have a title to lead. You don't need to have authority to be of influence. Basically, anywhere that you are, you have a chance to be of influence. That's all. It's amazing. It makes you to shift your mindset from blaming somebody else who's in charge to saying, why are they not doing things like that? To saying, what am I doing about it? It's really insightful, and I think I'd really recommend it, especially if you're working in an environment where you have to mingle with people. I'd recommend it to leaders. I'd recommend it to bosses. I think it would be really a great book to use for workshopping workers. I think it's really amazing. So yeah, I did say I was giving this book a 10 out of 10. The third book I read for the year was Emotional Intelligence 2.0. I really love this book, and I honestly would recommend it to anybody who is having a hard time understanding their emotions and having a hard time building good relationships with people, friends, co-workers, family members, and so on and so on. What I like about the book, first and foremost, is that it breaks down emotional intelligence into 4 categories, which is self-awareness, which is self-management, social awareness, and relationship management. I like the fact that in the four categories, it starts with self, understanding yourself as a person and how you manage your emotions, how you manage your anger, your happiness, and all other things that influence you as a person. How do you manage those things before you can then move to starting relationships with other people? I love the fact that all its points are scientific proven. In this book, Travis doesn't just explain the theory behind why you have to act this way around people, but he brings about the scientific explanation and theory around that. So I really loved that. I felt like it was so rich and so informative. Another thing I liked about the book was that it gave you tips on how you can improve on each of those 4 areas of your emotional intelligence, how you can improve your self-awareness, how you can improve your social awareness, how you can improve your relationship management. After reading the book, I did agree with many people that emotional intelligence was key, or rather more important than IQ in determining a person's success in business, in work, in academics, and so on and so forth. So I believe that the way you handle people, the way you handle your relationships with people determines a lot, because you are not just an individual that exists on their own. You need to interact with people, so that's very important in determining your success. So out of 10, I'll give this book a 7. Yeah. So yeah, still on that part of being intelligent emotionally, the next book I read was Don't Sweat the Small Stuff. It's just small stuff. So I think this was the 4th time, literally the 4th time reading this book, but every time I read it, it feels like it's a new thing, it's a new concept, and I get new and exciting insight. Even in today's context, I feel like he's addressing the issues that I'm facing currently at this very moment. So it's amazing. And it teaches you to be, calm about every situation. It has like 100 points, which are in short, very, very short chapters. So they're easy to read and easy to follow. But I think 100 was a lot. Really, I felt like he could have just broken down all of them to probably 25 points, because most of these points were emphasizing on similar things except put in different ways. Anyway, that's just one thing I didn't like about it. I felt like it was just a repetition of some of the points, but still I really, really loved it. And I decided to break down all those 100 points into 3 main points, which I took and which I decided to use on a daily basis. The first one being gratitude. Oh my God, this book helps you to be grateful, literally everything, to appreciating every little moment, the people around you, the air that you breathe, the gift that you have, the gift of intellect, the food that you have, the sky, the greenness of the grass and trees outside. It really makes you appreciate those people around you and appreciate everything beautiful that is going right around you. I believe that gratitude is one way of bringing more goodness into your life. So this one was very key for me. The second thing I picked from the book was choosing my battles wisely. He emphasized this, the author, by the way, he emphasized this in so many points, like know when to fight, know when not to fight, know when to talk back, know when not to talk back. Some things are not emergencies, like nobody's dying. You don't need to make this a big deal. Just walk away. There's those situations where you just have to teach you to just literally walk away, because it's not worth it. It's going to take so much of your emotional energy. It's going to take so much of and drain you emotionally, basically. So the best thing is just to walk away. Nobody's dying. So it makes you to understand why and when you need and not need to fight, to talk back, to argue. It could be at work, in the family, when you're just having dinner and all of a sudden you are just arguing about something, and then asking yourself, really, is this really worth it? Should I really be a part of this argument? And then so many times I find myself when I'm faced with things like this, I find myself, just holding back, because I'm like, no, this is just small stuff. So I don't need to sweat the small stuff. So it has really, really impacted me in so many ways. Then the last thing I picked from the book was mindfulness, the power of now. understanding that this present moment is probably the only thing that I have, because the future, I don't have control of the future, so there's no point being anxious about the future. The past, it's gone, so I don't have to regret what happened in the past. The only thing that I have control over is my now, being mindful. So it taught me so much on appreciating the present moment, and meditation, and just being fully present to the moment. It's so beautiful. So it allows you not to sweat the small stuff. Nothing is an emergency, not everything is an emergency. So you don't need to freak out about everything, be angry about everything, fight everything back. There's some things that you just have to let go, because it's just small stuff. So out of a 10, I'll give this book, say maybe a 9 out of 10. The one point taken by the fact that I found that the 100 points was a lot. He could have just broken down those points into 25 maybe, because some of them were really repetitious, So yeah. And the next book I read was How to Stop Worrying and Start Living. Literally, I believe this book was meant for me, because I am the worst when it comes to worrying. I worry all the time. When I step out of the door, I worry if I locked the door. When I sleep, I worry if I ate enough. When I just worry, when I'm worried, I worry why I'm worried. When I'm not worried, I worry why I'm not worried. So it's insane. Like literally, it's one thing that I've been trying to fight for like the longest time in my life. But thanks to this book, I've really learned a lot. I've really learned a lot from this book. And I think if you have the same problem, I'd highly, highly, highly recommend this book. It's an easy read. It keeps you calm. Literally every single page 10 made me feel like there was a weight that was lifted from my shoulders. Like there were so many aha moments. I wish I knew this earlier. It was so calm and relaxing, and I'd make sure I'd read it before I go to bed, so that it gives me that breeze and that freshness of the mind to relax and sleep properly. And which I took, which is like my favorite. It's the poem, which is Salutation to the Dawn. It's amazing. As the old Romans say, Carpe Diem, I don't know how to pronounce it, but it basically means seize the day. So this book basically, in summary, I'd say, is all about seizing the day and being happy in the day. Like as the Bible says, this is the day that the Lord has made. We shall be glad and rejoice in it. Exactly what this book is all about. It's about being happy and present in the day, and not worrying about the future, because really we don't have control over the future, and not worrying about the past, because the past is gone. It even says in the poem, look to this day, for it is life, the very life of life. This is the only thing we have. The day today is the only thing we have. So this book is really amazing, and I felt like it was so relevant, because it does state that everybody has problems, but worrying about them doesn't bring solutions. There was a chapter which talked about how you tackle problems. So it says the first thing that it gives you 3 steps on how you tackle problems. The first thing is like asking yourself, do I have a solution to the problem? If yes, then what? The second step is, then what's the solution? If you know the solution, then do it to solve the problem. If there's no solution to the problem, then stop worrying and carry on with your life. So basic and so simple. It's easier said than done, yeah, but it's really, really amazing. It makes everything so light and so easy to think about and handle. And it makes you believe that, problems are not really there to stop our lives, but they're there to teach us something and to help us think deeply about what we want to do next. That's the only thing you need to do. And when you're faced with challenges. So challenges are there to make us better people, and we should appreciate them as part of our being. And the next book I read was What's Your Move by Nicolette Mashile. The first thing I love about this book was it's African. Like it's written by an African woman. I really, really love that. And the first time I saw this book was at CNA before it shut down at Riverstone. So I walked closer and I realized it was very, very expensive and I didn't have money then. So I said I was going to come back to buy this book. So when I came back, CNA was closed. Thanks to Booknets Eswatini, I was able to finally get the physical copy because I really wanted to have the physical book, So one thing I love about this book is that it was written by a young woman. Nicolette Mashile is a multi-millionaire, if I'm not mistaken, and she teaches so much about financial literacy, personal finance and personal development in her YouTube channel, which she calls the Financial Bunny. Yeah. So I really, really love that you can relate to her as a woman growing up and trying to understand so much about finances, because, you know, the education system that we go through doesn't give us so much about being financial independent, understanding financial literacy and stuff like that. So you find yourself having to juggle through when you start working or when you start being independent and trying to understand what really has to be done with your money. And I personally had a terrible relationship with money. I was so scared because I felt like every time it was like, I'm going to lose it, and what am I going to do next with my life if I lose my money? How am I going to live? How am I going to do things if I lose money? I had a terrible relationship with money. So Nicolette Mashile in her book really helped me to build a good and comfortable relationship with money, understanding how money works and how I can grow it, how I can make it work for me. She talks so much about investments, about savings, about what debts, how to do away with debt and how to get out of debt. It's amazing, an amazing read. And I love the fact that she talks about all these concepts in relation to her experiences. She does talk about so much of what she went through to bring about these lessons. One thing that I love about the book was that at each end of the chapter she'd write, so what's your move, hence the title of the book. Basically to say that after having learned so much, then what's your take on this? What are you going to do next? So I am so happy that from this book I was able to take major financial decisions, and I was so thank you Nicolette Mashile for that. But one downfall of this book was I found that there was too much financial jargon. Well, not too much, but there were those times where I felt like, okay, this is just jargon, I don't understand this. So I'd find myself pausing time and again, going to YouTube or the dictionary to try to understand those new terms that were there. And well, it was a good thing because I learned new concepts, but it really delayed my reading of the book. Otherwise, it was a really, really interesting read, and I really recommend it to anybody who is looking into developing themselves financially and being financial independent and to growing money and to making money work for them. I know it's pink and it looks feminine. Trust me, the lessons here are for everybody. You can read this book as a man and you can understand this book as a man, and you can find all of this concepts helpful in your personal financial journey. Oh, I think I'm tired now. I don't understand how I was able to read so many books in like 4 months. Anyway, the next book I read was this one has been my absolute favorite. So I'll start with the rating. Out of 10, I would give it a 15, literally a 15 out of 10. That's how good this book was. So basically, this book was written by Dr. Carlson, and she narrates her story and try to explore the experiences that Black women go through in higher education. So she narrates so many things around racism, self-doubt, mental health, and social detachment. And literally, I felt like she was talking about myself. She was really narrating my story through her story. Like, there were so many moments that I felt like, I know what you're talking about, girl. I know what you're talking about. So in as much as she lives in a different country, but all those experiences I think they are common with every young person, young girl, young Black girl who is trying to navigate through higher education, especially in STEM. So those are the things that were amazing about the book. And then the second thing is that I really love the fact that it gives you so much tips on survival strategies to navigate these challenges. She doesn't just talk about how she went through those things, but she also narrates or gives tips on how to survive those challenges, on how to deal with mental health, on how to deal with detachment issues. And I loved her point on creating a tribe, creating a community of people with whom you will share a common goal, with whom you can share common ideas, and with whom you share the same aspirations, because the truth is, when you go through the academic journey, you will lose some people because you find that you don't relate to them as much as you did before, and it's perfectly okay. Do not beat yourself hard about that. It happens, you know. So Dr. Grayson made me appreciate that it's okay to lose people when you're taking different journeys in life. That's exactly what happened, because at some point you will not relate to each other, because I mean, you are at different levels of so many things. So it's perfectly okay. So that's one thing that I really loved about the book. And out of 10, yes, I did say I was going to give it a 15 out of 10. So I really also love the fact that it was very short, and as you can see, I like literally highlighted each page. Like, there was so much to take from this book. It was amazing. I really loved it. Now the next book I read was Stop Overthinking. So basically this is a series of 3 books, and I've read 2 out of the 3. So yeah, the concept of not overthinking and not worrying comes back again. I think it's because it's one of the things that I really, really struggle with. I really struggle with so much anxiety time and again. So that is why I really find myself falling back to this kind of books, because I really find that they help me a lot in fighting those things, you know. So the first part of the book is talking about overthinking, of course, how you can handle that, how to deal with anxiety and depression, how to manage your stress levels, how to build your confidence, and how to build your social intelligence skills. You know, it's an amazing read because it helps you understand that what's the cause of your overthinking, what's the cause of your anxiety, what's the cause of your depression. And in the second part of the book, which is all about self-discipline, now the author takes you through habits, or rather ways of building habits that you can use to change your bad habits of overthinking that lead to anxiety and depression. He makes you take control of your situation, and appreciating your willpower, because your willpower is the one that allows you to make changes to yourself, and to appreciate that, you know, I have control over this. I can fight this, I can deal with this. So it's a really, really amazing read. I mean, it's an amazing read. I haven't started the last part, which is on cognitive behavior therapy, but I think I'll be starting it as soon as I finish this book that I'm reading, which brings us to the last, well, second from last, the book. This is the current one, like the one that I'm reading currently. It's the 5 a.m. Club. It's been so popular on social media and on so many book reviews on YouTube. So for the very first time, I opted for the the audio option of it, because I felt like I didn't have time to sit down and read lately. So I'd use my AirPods to listen to it while doing some cooking, some cleaning around the house, or to do a review of it once I have finished reading it. So the last book that I wanted to end with was this one, What Happened to You by Oprah. So this book I read like a month ago, and I didn't finish because it brings back so many emotions, man, you know. It changes the narrative to understanding people. Instead of saying, what's wrong with you? When people behave in a certain way, what's wrong with them? To actually ask him, what happened to you? What events of the past make you the person that you are? And most importantly, it wasn't just about me understanding people, but understanding myself. Why do I behave this way? What happened to me? And it made me really, really go deeper, to go back and understand every little thing that really happened to me that I overlooked and, you know, just sort of ignored. But it brought back those memories and those emotions. So that's why I couldn't finish the book, because I felt like I wasn't ready to go through it again. I mean, to go through. I wasn't ready for what it was bringing. I wasn't really, really, really ready for what it was bringing up. So I felt like, you know what, I'm just going to find time when I feel strong enough for this book and come back to this book. That's all I'm going to say. Anyway, that's about it. That has been like how many books? 11 books, right? So until next time, you do your thing and I do mine. Peace. Please don't forget to follow me on Instagram. I am Growing Bookshelves with Faye, and also on Goodreads I am Faye, so that you don't miss out on what I read. Bye.